Hey everybody, Judah 2000 here, coming at you with a movie review of The Crow 2, City of Angels. I only have the first movie, but I would like to pick up the sequels. Like, where I find them cheap at the Rasputin music store that I go, the Mad Monk. Or if I find them for $1, because I find a lot of DVDs, even a lot of Dimension DVDs, for $1. Like how I picked up Highlander 4, that was $1. But and also the other ones too. Like there's a lot of movies that they sell for $1, but hopefully I might find those sequels for $1. But this is a review of City of Angels, which is the second film that came out in 1996, to a year after the first movie came out. It got real. They started doing a teaser about the second film. It's even on the VHS preview where they were teasing about a sequel. And for years, I never seen this movie. I heard a lot of people shit on this movie, and a lot of people found this to be a piece of shit. But I got to see all these sequels, and this is not a shitty movie. I was expecting it to be a straight up piece of shit because I heard all the things that it said. People say bad things about, like, oh, this movie fucking sucked. It's terrible. It's bullshit. Why the fuck would they do a sequel of the original Crow that Brandon Lee died? But I have to say, I really enjoyed this movie, The Crow, City of Angels. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really good, fast paced, action packed revenge thriller like the first movie. Would I say it's good as the first movie? No. But I would say it's a very solid film. I would say it's the one I liked out of the other sequels. I actually did like City of Angels, The Crow 2. It stars Vincent Perez as this father character who's like a mechanic, and one day his son stumbles across these scumbag people, and a lot of the one of the villains is played by the punk rock legend singer Iggy Pop. And even one of his songs is kind of, it's faintly heard in one scene. One of his songs is played in the background, but it's not really heard a lot. It's just like you kind of hear a faint sound of the song of it. And he's one of the bad guys. He's over the top, but he does a pretty decent job as the bad guy, because I know he was a bad guy character in that movie, that Jim Jarmusch movie, Dead Man, with Johnny Depp. He was one of the bad guys with him and Billy Bob Thornton. They were like savages, crazies that get killed by Johnny Depp and his friend Nobody. But yeah, Iggy Pop plays a pretty decent villain, and he cusses a lot too, which is goofy. But he's like one of the bad guys. Thomas Jane is one of the bad guys. Thomas Jane, who will go on to play Frank Castle, the Punisher, in 2005's The Punisher film. And of course, he starred in that piece of shit, The Predator movie, where they gave him a very offensive role, where he's like playing like a Tourette syndrome kind of guy, where he's like saying a lot of fucking obscenities and shit, and just, I don't know, that role was just rough to watch for him playing. Like, why the fuck couldn't he play the lead? Because the lead guy sucked in that Predator movie. Like, why couldn't you? That was a wasted opportunity for Thomas Jane right there. Like, you gave him a shitty role, and you didn't give him the fucking lead character, because the guy that plays the lead in that movie fucking sucks. He could not even play a good bad guy at all in the fucking Logan movie. That lead guy was terrible in the Predator. They should have had Thomas Jane as the lead. But yeah, that movie sucked ass. But Thomas Jane, he plays one of the bad guys in the movie too. And yeah, their leader is played by I forgot the leader's name, but he's played by Richard Brooks, and I know Richard Brooks is I because I was trying to think about what movie he's in. I now know he was in Wes Craven's Shocker. He was Peter Burke's best friend in the football team, and he like helps him out in the movie. So yeah, he was in Wes Craven's Shocker. He was in other movies too. He was in a TV show that people remembered. But I forgot the name of the show. But all in all, he plays the bad guy in this one, and I thought he did a decent job. Like he wasn't good as Michael Wincock's villain role in as Top Dollar, but I thought he did a good job playing the villain. Like he kind of like had like a gothic feel of being like this Satanist weird fucking dude that's a villain. But it starts about Vincent Perez where he gets killed. Him and his son gets killed by Iggy Pop's gang, and they shoot them cold blooded. They dump their body in a river, and their bodies are flown deep to the water ground. And then you're followed by the older Sarah character that's from the first movie, recasted with a different actress as the older. Like they didn't bring back the original actress. And I thought the Sarah character did fit here in the sequel more. I kind of like her more here because they fleshed her character out better, and they had more of an arc for her character in the movie, where she's like a tattoo parlor artist, and she sees Vincent Perez coming out of the water, being risen by the Craven of the Raven of the Crow, because he has the crow power in him. So now he comes out of the water, and he talks to Sarah and thinking about revenging, going after the sons of bitches that took him and his son's life, cold blooded. And of course, she starts doing the crow painting makeup on his face. Like she paints the crow makeup on him, and he goes after the villains one at a time. He kills one of the villains by stabbing them, and then he goes after Thomas Jane, who's like at this sex booth and trying to jerk off and shit. But he surprises him and tosses Thomas Jane's ass around, kicking his ass like a motherfucker, like teaching him a lesson. And then he encounters Iggy Pop, and he kills his ass by torturing and making him suffer. And then he kills an Asian girl that's in the part of the gang. She gets her eyes pecked out by, I think the crow pecks her eyes out like really brutally. But yeah, she gets her fucking comeuppance. Like the villains get their comeuppance, and then Vincent Perez is finally gonna go after Richard Brooks, but Richard Brooks is starting to notice that the crow is having he has his powers to make him back alive, so he starts stabbing, mutilating the crow, getting the blood into him. Now he has the crow power randomly, which is weird. And he starts beating up Vincent Perez, and Vincent Perez is starting to lose a lot of his powers. And he's about to be killed, but Sarah gets killed in the crossfire of saving Vincent Perez's character, so she sacrificed herself. So yeah, the Sarah character does die in this movie, which is pretty sad. But all in all, Vincent Perez gets up, starts beating the shit out of Richard Brooks, because all that adventure of seeing Sarah getting stabbed and killed has the Craven angers more rage into his bloodstream, where it comes back to life, starts beating the shit out of Richard Brooks. And beating him up fistfully, pulfully, viciously, hardcorely, and gets his comeuppance by stabbing him in the chest and hanging him and shit with a bar. I think it was barbed wire that he hanged him. I might be mistaken, but yeah, it was really an impactful death for Richard Brooke, like getting his comeuppance. Because all the villains in these movies, in the Crow movies, they get their brutal comeuppance. It's like how Top Dollar got his comeuppance, where he got all the pain from Eric's girlfriend's beating and rape and shit, and gives it to Top Dollar and tosses his ass off down, and gets Top Dollar stabbed by the gargoyle statue, and of course, but he does that with Vincent Perez character. His Crow character gives that pain where his son getting shot and killed. That stuff gets on Richard Brooks, so he has the pain effects too of being shot. So he gets his comeuppance and gets killed by the Crow. Very satisfying. And the other thing I forgot to mention, the soundtrack is really good. I forgot what the songs are called throughout the movie, but it has a killer soundtrack that's fire. I really like the soundtrack. The soundtrack is really good. And yeah, he gets his comeuppance. He reunites with his son that is by his grave. And also saying his last words to Sarah, because she died during this crossfire fighting Richard Brooks and getting that bastard the comeuppance that he deserved. And now he's reunited with his son that died from this horrible thing that happened. And the thing that they have on the film, the theme setting is a futuristic dystopian future, like how Highlander 2 has that futuristic world, like Blade Runner, and District 9, like it's a dump, it's a wasteland. So it kind of has like that futuristic setting, which I don't know if it's like part of like all those futuristic settings that are in the movie, like in those 90s movies that came out that did that shit. But all in all, I thought the setting was pretty good. The music was really good. The action sequence were good. The shootout scenes were pretty good. Like the fighting scenes were good. Like I actually was entertained by this movie. I really thought this movie was gonna be boring. I thought this was gonna be like a piece of fucking shit. Like how everybody said, "Oh, this movie fucking sucks." Because I was watching all these movies open mind, and I was expecting this to be a piece of shit. But I actually was entertained by this movie because I was so disappointed with so many new crappy movies so far this year. I have not been impressed with new movies lately. I may name some movies that some people may like, but to each your own. But there's movies I didn't care for this year. I didn't care for The Beekeeper with Jason Stamos. I think that's his weak movie. I prefer The Wrath of Men over that movie. The Beekeeper kind of was not a piece of shit, but it was disappointing. I kind of expected to have like more of an impactful ending. I don't know. I was kind of disappointed with the ending. And Madam's Web, I got to see a glimpse of 5 minutes of it, and I was like, fuck this shit. But I heard people say that, even Marvel fans say that this shit is like one of the worst fucking movies. Worst Marvel films of all time. And that it's a bunch of false advertised from the trailer that you don't get nothing for fucking an hour and a half. I saw the new Wonka movie, and that was a boring piece of fucking shit. The Gene Wilder and the Tim Burton one are much fucking better. That Wonka movie fucking sucks. If you want me to spoil it, I don't give a fuck about spoiling it. I'll just because I don't want people to waste their fucking 2-hour time wasting that shit. Willy Wonka doesn't make the factory because you're expecting that Oh, he's gonna have the factory to, like, he starts developing and making it. No, he makes the fucking factory at the end of the movie. Like the very fucking end of the 2 hour movie, he makes the fucking factory with shitty CGI. Like for like 2 minutes, that was it. What the fuck? Yeah. And I know it's a prequel, but it was a boring ass prequel. Fuck Wonka. That was a shitty movie. The first two movies are much better. And there were some other crappy movies I saw this year. Lift with Kevin Hart. That was a piece of fucking shit. That was like one of the worst action movies of this year. It was like a shitty, stupid ass version of The Italian Job with Mark Wahlberg and Charlize Theron, but like a shitty version of that. Lift was a piece of shit. Um, Lisa Frankenstein, I was interested in the first half of it, but I just didn't care for it after that. It's just like the second half it felt like too dull for me. Didn't care for it. I'm so bummed out by new movies so far that I was wanting to watch older stuff, so I started watching older stuff and being entertained. And I got to watch the Crow sequels because I wanted to review it with the first movie because the first movie's having its 30th anniversary. I was entertained by this movie. This was so far like entertaining because I was watching crap so far this year of new movies. I was so bummed out by new movies so far because none of the good shit's coming out. Like the only one I'm looking forward to is Deadpool 3, Saw 11, Terrifier 3, and maybe the Toxic Avenger remake. But it's just been coming out with crap this year. But yeah, I did enjoy City of Angels, The Crow 2. Vincent Perez did a good job. Like, his acting wasn't like the best because you could tell he's a foreign actor because like his his English is a little butchery, but I thought he did a decent job playing a father crow character where he's taking revenge after those sons of bitches killed his son cold-bloodedly, and then it's very satisfying when he gets those bastards. I thought he did a decent job. I thought his performance was good. Um, I thought the girl that played the older Sarah was pretty good. I feel like the character was better here than the first movie because I felt like they fleshed out the character more. I thought Richard Brooks was a solid villain, even though I like Michael Wincott more, but in the first movie. But I actually thought Richard Brooks was a solid villain. And then the other villains, like they're in the gang, like the other members, Iggy Pop and Thomas Jane, I thought they were good in the movie. And on, I thought this was a solid film. It had good action sequence, good fightings, good revenge plot, and even a fire soundtrack that kicks ass. And I thought the cast was a little decent. So on, I actually thought this movie was very solid. Yeah. And I'm gonna review the next movie, Salvation, which is the third film in the series. Stay tuned, folks.